Messer Creations was started out of a necessity to express myself, to archive my work, and to basically try to inspire other artists. And that started off with just simple time lapses, and then it morphed into Tip Off Tuesday, and that was a big thing where we were just telling artists, hey, you can use this eraser, and you can use that pencil, and you can use it with this paper, and it'll give you a really cool effect. And then that eventually morphed into full-blown drawing tutorials from beginning to end. And the whole point of the channel this whole time has been to help artists develop themselves and use charcoal in a way that is super effective and allows them to make a lot of art really quickly. And I think that's kind of what it was always about from the very get-go, was just helping other artists succeed in the charcoal medium. Yeah. Art was always a part of my life. Early on, I didn't touch or dabble with charcoal until I was 16, believe it or not. But I was always making, I would draw all sorts of stuff, motorcycles. I drew a portrait of Johnny Cash when I was a little kid for my dad. So I was always a really artistic kid, but in the wake of charcoal, I first dabbled in that in high school. And I remember when we reached the 2-week segment for charcoal in art class, it was just like, this medium is for me. This is what I like. This is what I want. And I just liked it. It fit, It's kind of like you see a whole bunch of really nice cars go down the road, and then you see that one car where you're like, I want that one. Yep, that's mine. So the road from when I was a little kid to now, in the wake of like my art journey, it wasn't like I was on this one track where I was like, they identified that I was a really good artist in high school, and then I went to art school, and then I opened up my own practice. It wasn't like that at all. For me, it was extremely fragmented. I went from not really prioritizing it to actually for a few years not doing any kind of art at all. And then I kind of got back into it when my now wife, I met her at the university, and one night she looks at me and she goes, can you draw me a white rose? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I think I had some printer paper and I had a mechanical pencil, and I busted out a white rose and gave it to her in like 25 minutes, and she was like, wow. You can draw like this? And I was like, oh yeah, of course. Just could never make any money doing it though, And so that was my excuse to not really pursuing it up until that point. But she looked at me and she was like, no, you got something, and we need to invest in it, and we need to kind of get you back on that artistic train. So next thing I knew, she got me a sketchbook, and she got me pencils, and she got me a drawing desk, and it was like, hey, I want you to draw this for me, and I want you to draw this for me, and that's just kind of how it took off. And next thing you knew, we had Messer Creations. Yeah, Messer Creations is definitely a hustle. It's not something that I do full time, not yet anyway. I'm working for others at the moment, and then when I come home, coffee up and draw and film and edit and try to make these tutorials for for the MC fam, so that they can have fresh content, new content. And I think ultimately the goal is to be able to work on this brand full time and continue to make drawing tutorials and whatever else comes in the future. Am I inspired by other artists? Well, of course, yeah. I'm from Washington State originally. I grew up a couple hours from Seattle, and Kurt Cobain was always a big inspiration to me. My favorite song from Nirvana is Dumb. I think I'm dumb, the sun is gone, but I have a light. And for me, I always really liked that song, because it was like, there have been times when, you're 30 years old and you're sitting there and you're drawing a picture of a shark, and other people that are your age are going to law school, or they're married and they're, starting their family, and and they're buying a house, and whenever I hear that song, I somehow it lets me know that everything's okay and that this is what I'm meant to do. You know, this is my purpose. Yeah, you know, the following is everything. You know, without a following, you don't really have much of a brand. And I can remember, you know, sitting there with my wife, and we were looking at each other, and we were trying to conceptualize what our, you know, logo would be, and what our mission statement would be, and what our purpose would be. And, you know, we were just simply drawing pictures, but, you know, somewhere along the line between then and now, you know, we have thousands of people following this brand all of a sudden. And it brings me a lot of joy to know that they're people just like me.